There is a new fully electric car coming to European market from China, from a company called JAC Motors, a state-owned Chinese car manufacturer, and this is their electric car called iEV7s, and this is gonna be its full review. JAC iEV7s, a long name for an electric car coming out of China. It's coming to the European Union in 2019. It's a car which has been introduced to the Chinese market in October 2018, less than a year ago. It is actually the only fully electric car being produced by this JAC Motors car manufacturer. That's actually a company which has signed a joint venture contract with Volkswagen to produce electric vehicles for the, I would presume, mainly Chinese market, and the joint venture contract is worth of $12 billion. Otherwise, JAC Motors is a state-owned Chinese car manufacturer. As you may well know, China is actually world leader in producing and buying electric cars. More electric cars, or new energy vehicles as they call them, is being produced in China than in the rest of the world combined. It was very much because it was heavily subsidized for good reasons, because if you see how dramatic the pollution is in the Chinese cities, there's definitely help if the part of the mobility would be done by electric vehicles. Now, when the subsidies are decreasing in China, I think the Chinese car manufacturers are looking abroad to export their products. And let's have a look at this particular vehicle. I actually the YouTube channel called Electro Dad is actually a channel where I dedicate the, let's say, education about electric cars to a Czech and Slovak audience. So this is one of the few exceptions when I would shoot the video in English as well. Why? Because when I was preparing for gathering data for this review of this particular car, I couldn't find a single review in English, so I thought it's good that there would be one a thorough review of this car. So how I do the reviews is I talk about cool factor, fun factor and eco factor of the car, and then I talk about dynamics, battery and charging, consumption and range of the electric car, interior and its practicality, exterior and safety, and price and a service of the electric car. So let's jump into the subject. Before I start, you can see the chapters of this review in the text under the video, including the timestamps, and you can click on those and move forward in the video to the topics you are interested in. So, cool factor. I'm using a scale from 0 to 10. 10, a god would take 10. 0 is when it's absolutely hopeless car. So you know, what would teenagers say that this is a cool car? I think there is some likelihood because it's electric. When I compare it, when it comes to the design, the quality, the build quality, the interior, and the technology used, and as for most of the fully electric cars, the beautiful acceleration, especially in the cities. This is primarily a city car. It's quite compact, although you wouldn't say so when you actually come to the car, when you sit in the car, it feels more spacious than when you actually see the measures than it actually is. So the long story short, the cool factor I would give on the scale from 0 to 10, and I'm using this one across all the electric vehicles, I would give 5, somewhere in the middle. Fun factor, again, with the engine, which has 116 horsepower and 220 Newton meters of torque, it's average, I would say, on a modern car. However, you still get the beauty of the dynamics when you're using it in city traffic. As with all the electric cars, there's no gear shifting as you drive. It's only the speed of the engine, of the electric engine, the rotation, which influences the how fast you drive. So when it comes to fun factor, I quite liked the car. I will be doing some 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers within 2 weeks in the car, and I would give it, again, from 0 to 10, I would be like 5.5. There are much stronger electric cars you can buy these days. I would look at this one as I would compare this particular car with the first generation of the fully electric cars, such as Nissan Leaf first generation, Volkswagen e-Golf, Renault Zoe, etc. Eco factor. If you look at the full life cycle of an electric car and the emissions it pollutes when it comes to when it's being manufactured, when it's being used, and when it's at the end of life, it's being recycled. With such a car, depending obviously in the country where you are, and let's say in the Czech Republic we still have, unfortunately, some 57% of the energy mix is being, electricity production is being by burning fossil fuels. Even in such a country, let's say within first 50,000 kilometers, you're getting into a breaking point beyond the electric car with the 40 kilowatt-hour battery is clearly more ecological, less harming to the environment in the whole life cycle than a fossil car. Therefore, I would definitely, so if I would, on that scale from 0 to 10, I would give an old diesel fossil car 0, and the top modern fossil diesel car I would give 2 on the scale 0 to 10. Here I would give 7, because it is, now don't take me wrong, I'm not claiming that electric cars are ecological, right? It's please walk, use public transport. That's ecological transportation. However, if you do need individual transportation, electric cars are far more ecological than the fossil cars. Dynamics. So we did mention that, so it's a car with synchronous motor, AC motor with permanent magnets. It has 85 kilowatts of power, which means 116 horsepower. It has 270 Newton meters of torque, which are powering the front wheels. Also, the engine is at the front of the car. The acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is within 12 seconds. Nothing exceptional, right? The maximum speed is 130 kilometers per hour. Again, nothing exceptional. 130 kilometers per hour, that's the speed limit on our highways. Therefore, if you need to overtake, this car will only allow you to go 136 kilometers or so. It's a little bit it's not that practical that the speed limit is that low, and the weight of the car is 1,460 kilograms of an empty car without a driver. The power to weight ratio is 58 watts per kilogram, which is comparable, which is a little bit more than the Nissan Leaf 30 kilowatt, the first generation. Otherwise, however, it's much less than the Hyundai Kona or the Kia e-Niro or Model 3 or all these like the modern car. Battery and charging. The maximum, I would say, nominal capacity of the battery used is 40 kilowatt hours. It is lithium-ion battery produced by Samsung. It is based in the bottom of the car, below both the seats. The car has been actually manufactured or designed to support the fossil engines as well. So it's not purely EV made concept of the car. I would think that the usable battery, which can be utilized for the driver, is not published. So my guesstimate would be around 37 kilowatt hours. It does have active cooling, active thermal management, the battery pack. Therefore, it's actually water-cooled or liquid-cooled battery, which is great. The AC charger, the onboard charger, is 6.6 kilowatts, and the DC charging, the connector used is the CCS, which is great because that will be de facto standard used on the European continent. However, I was told that the first 1500 kilometers, the maximum speed of charge is 36 kilowatts, even if you are using the 50 kilowatt charger. The reality shows that even beyond the 1500 kilometers, it's within the first 45% of state of charge, the charging is at 36 kilowatts. Then it drops to 23 kilowatts up until 75%, and then it further dramatically drops at 75%. It drops to 4.5 kilowatts, which is very low. It's actually what I'm just now doing and charging beyond those 75%, is that I unplug the CCS DC charger and plug in the AC charger, because it's like a third faster. It goes like 6.3 kilowatts in the last 25%. So in practical terms, the 0 to 80 takes the charging on the DC charger takes around an hour, and it can easily be another 45-50 minutes to charge the last 25%. The user manual says that the car should allow to set a timer when the charging should happen. For example, when you have cheaper deal with your energy company, with your electricity supplier, so you can charge overnight, or you can limit the charging to 80% for example, but I couldn't find that feature on this particular car. Consumption and range. The onboard infographics or the onboard infotainment does not tell you what was your consumption in kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It only says how many kilometers you can drive up instantly per 1 kilowatt, right? It might be measure used in China. That's not the measure we're used to in Europe. Therefore, I have in the first 1100 kilometers, 1160 kilometers, I have measured actually on the fast chargers and at home what was the amount of electricity provided to the battery. It was actually 201 kilowatt hours, and therefore the consumption is over 17 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But I have to take into account some inefficiency of of charging. Therefore, typically the consumption given by the car is a little bit lower. So if I would take that into consideration, it would be 16.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. How did I drive? I tend to be quite I'm using the car's power when driving in the city. I would have done, let's say, 70% outside of the city on highways and, let's say, the country roads. On country roads, it's around 90 to 100 kilometers per hour. On the highway, it's around 110 kilometers per hour. I'm not really speeding with the car. And then, so that was the consumption. So it's relatively high. I would again compare it to Nissan Leaf, the first generation, e-Golf or Renault Zoe. What does it mean when it comes to range? In summer with aircon on, the range seems to be around and beyond 200 kilometers per charge. Actually, when you are easy with your foot, it can well be 100 to 240 kilometers and beyond in the city or even outside city. Otherwise, but I would think it's around 200 kilometers, and in winter it would drop, I would think, down to 160 kilometers. We'll see. So the annual average, I would think, you would be around 200 kilometers per charge, maybe a little bit less than that. It should be able to have a mobile app, but I'm not sure that may not be ready in Europe yet. When you turn on the Eco button, that's when the regenerative braking actually kicks in. It takes like 2 seconds to come until the full power being provided back to the battery. Why not? It's unusual, but it makes the driving soft, I would say. So that's fairly pleasant. Interior and its practicality. What I want to say is that the first impression when you sit in the car is that you're surprised how modern the car looks inside. It's quite pleasant to be in the car, and what I also want to say is that for many people they would be, let's say, questioning how the quality will be in that 2-week period, and in those I will be close to, as I said, 1600 kilometers, 1000 miles. It's pretty well built from what I see and what I have experienced, and there's no squeaks. It's you know, it's like any other car you can get in this price range. It's perfectly fine. When it comes to how quiet this particular car is, again, I think it's very comparable to the Nissan Leaf first generation. You do hear in the low speeds, you do hear a little bit of the engine noise, but a little bit, and it's quite pleasant kind of noise. And in the higher speeds, over 110 kilometers per hour, you hear some of the wind noise. I don't think when they designed this particular car they would bother much about the aerodynamics, so it's not given the number, but I would think the CX would be like 0.30 or something like that. It's you can tell if you go faster that the consumption goes high. Let's have a look at the detail of the interior. Quite large external mirrors, which can be electronically set over here. When it comes to these, then here we have a eco button where the reaction of the gas or accelerator pedal are a little bit slower. Here you press this and you open the charging ports. You set the trip meter, the daily meter, the lighting of the interior displays. This is how you set the headlights, which are not LED, they would be halogen lights. If we continue, here we see this Asian style opening and unlocking the car. Electronic power windows on all 4 doors. and locking, unlocking, and child protection, so they cannot open the windows. A lot of plastics inside. This is supposed to resemble carbon fiber, but it's not a real thing. The softened part in the door is here, where you can rest your arm, and you can see this nice red detail, which is also used on the steering wheel, which is probably a leather, most likely artificial leather, and the same here on the dashboard, where you can see it's soft material with the red stitching, and also on this top part. So if we turn on the car, the key looks like this. You can just keep it in your pocket, or use it if you want. So like with all electric cars, you have the accelerator and a brake. So we are pressing the brake, and here with this button we turn on the car. As you see, there's graphics on the infotainment. So if we turn on the wheel and look what's in front of us, it really resembles the Nissan Leaf first generation, where here's the temperature of the battery. I have done over 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles in it so far. I have only seen 5 or 6 bars when it comes to temperature, because the battery is supposed to be liquid cooled, and it does seem to be the case. Here in the middle it says whether you are regenerating electricity or you are pressing the accelerator pedal, the power which goes to the wheels. Here is the 45% charge, state of charge at the moment. When it comes to the distance, it is 112 kilometers now. Guessing the system, when it's fully charged, it shows between 270 and 300 kilometers. Also on this display is you see whether you are, it's a high resolution display, fairly nice fast responses. You can tell if you are moving, whether the energy flows from the battery to the engine or backwards when you're regenerating the energy. Here you see what was your energy consumption. They are using how many kilometers you can drive with 1 kilowatt hour of energy. Here you can see distribution of the energy, whether we are accelerating or recuperating the energy. We do not have the AC on now. It's a standard, I would say, one zone AC, where so if we press the auto, we see that it starts consuming energy. At the beginning it's around 1 kilowatt, and after 3-5 minutes it goes down to 300-400 watts. Charging status, when we're charging, it shows how many amperes and volts the car is intaking. Some other settings and more settings, such as whether we are regenerating when we are slowing down. As you can see, it's sort of like a Chinese English. Some of the terms are not quite standard. As we can see, the battery has also a winter warm-up mode, which is nice, and I would say modern feature. The car has a standard FM radio. It doesn't play very well. It's like from a car 10-15 year old. You can play from USB. You can connect your phone. Again, the Bluetooth is so, not particularly high quality of the sound for yourself and for the other party listening you on the phone. Here it's probably a Chinese application which you can download in your mobile phone and get some more data connectivity with the car. We have seen this screen already. music, you can play Bluetooth settings, you can have the tire pressure information, you can connect iPod, and you can set up maintenance frequency, when is supposed to be the next time you're coming to the garage. So if we look around, I would say a very reasonable build quality of the interior, and it's I would also say it's fairly modern looking, a decent, nice interior. The seats are from artificial leather. Again, you see the detail with the red stitching. They have very nice support on the top part, sort of a support on the bottom part, and it's the part where you're sitting. It's breathing, so it's fine. The only here, as you can see, is the softened part. Otherwise, it's hard plastics. In the front door, 2 speakers. So and the compartment in the door is sufficient to hold 1 liter bottle for a fairly decent size glove box. On many places you can see the WIN code of the car. It's unusual on how many places you can see it. The sun shades, which have the makeup mirror with the light. On the 4 places in the car, you have these handles, which is nice. There's a fairly decent visibility from the car, and here you have a glass holder on the side of the driver. Otherwise, the steering wheels itself is pretty ergonomic, I would say. It's a standard, it's a nice steering wheel to hold. Here's a part where you can control the automatic cruise control and the mobile phone. Here's a part where you control the loudness of the music, the radio. It's pretty good. And here, like I would say, standard way how you control lights and turning signals. And here, again, like windscreen wipers, etc. Just a standard thing. The car only has 2 airbags, 1 in the steering wheel and 1 in front of the passenger seat. Here's a little trash bin, which you can actually take out. Quite nice solution. 12-volt electricity, USB port, and here how you control, when you're reversing, you press this button and you go forward. So you see that it has a decent, nice reversing camera. Actually, it's a 3D camera, so you see, depending how you turn the wheels, you see where you're going and what you need to be careful. It's very nicely done. Then we just pressing like this, you go to neutral. You also have the information over here, and then pressing more and more, you go forward. What is a bit annoying, I couldn't get used to it in 2 weeks when I have the car, but you always have to go through neutral, right? So if you are going forward, you need to press and with this button twice to reverse. If you are reversing and you go forward, you need to press twice through neutral. It is what it is. Then you have the electronic parking, the auto hold when you're going up the hill. You can turn off the parking beeping, the sensors. You can turn on the 360 camera, which you have seen. So here's another little compartment, and here you can some more where you can place 2 drinks over there. When it comes to armrest, it's solved like this, like on a bus, and it's okay. It's working. The steering wheel can only be adjusted up and down, just like with Nissan Leaf. So it's okay for me, but if for the taller persons, it is not very comfortable then. Again, you see the WIN code here as well. With the seats, you can lift them up, the whole seat, and you can control the angle of the seat. There is no extra lumbar support which you would be able to adjust. At the back seat, if we have a look, the door, again, a similar design. When here's the soft part, the rest is the hard plastics. Opening window, opening the door. Here you have the handle where you can actually, you have a hook to put your clothes if you need to. Pockets in both seats in front of you. Enough space, definitely. I have 183 centimeters, and I have enough knee room. As you can see here, there's a small bump. It's only like 2-3 centimeters, so it's relatively comfortable for someone who would be sitting in the middle to do so. The seats are quite nice and comfortable. Here you can have the center armrest with compartments for drinks. As with most non-European cars, you cannot actually you cannot open this part to place your skis, for example, through the car. Let us have a look at child seats in the car. This one is for infants, but because you cannot deactivate the front airbag, this is the only way how you can place it in the car. Therefore, it's not suitable for the early infants. If we move to the back, we have 2 more child seats there. This one is ISOFIX 9 to 18 kilograms, and as you can see, the kids has just enough space, so it would be gently touching the seat in front of it. And this one is 18 to 36 kilograms. The child has enough legroom there, as you can see. If we look at the back trunk, it's a nice shape of the trunk. However, it's relatively small. My guesstimate is that it would be 320 liters, which is 11.3 cubic feet. As you can see, there's like 25 centimeters there to get into the trunk. There are these spaces which you can utilize on the sides of the trunk. There are no hooks which you could use to safely put your shopping bags. There's a light. If you see at the bag, it's divided 60 to 40, and underneath this bottom is another quite spacious part where I would think it's easily another 100 liters extra space if you take this plastic piece out, because that you can have a spare tire there if needed. Here we can have a look how I can place a large baby stroller for a child which is over a year old into the boot, into the trunk. Right, that's the bottom part, which actually requires a little bit of assistance. You cannot do it with one hand. Okay, it can If you try a bit, it can fit. Now I need to take this lid. If you take the lid, the trunk has a size of 460 liters or 16.2 cubic feet. And as you can see, then it can fit in. Let's have a look under the bonnet. Here you can see the washing liquid. Here is the coolant. Here is the power electronics for the engine. The engine itself is down below. Here is the high voltage system and the onboard charger beneath. Here is the braking system. Here is the fuse box. Here's the 12-volt onboard electronics battery, and here is the cooling system, the fan, etc. Exterior. I'm quite pleasantly surprised how I would consider this car quite nice. I would actually consider it nicer than most of the electric cars in this comparable price range. Let's not look at Teslas or Jaguar or Audi, but in this price range, I would think it's one of the nicest electric cars out there, especially when you look from the front. The front grills, or what they put there instead of a grill in many of the electric cars, is just ugly, whereas here it's very nicely done. So I would think thumbs up for the design of the car. And it's, as I said, it actually feels more spacious than the measures would say. It has the daily LED lights at the front. The main lights are halogen lights. The car is, when it comes to length, it's 414 centimeters. The width is 175 centimeters. It is 156 centimeters tall, so it's pleasant to get inside the car. And it's the clearance above the ground, it's at least 13 centimeters, and it has the wheelbase is 249 centimeters. The car is using 205 at 50 R16 wheels from a Chinese manufacturer called GITI. I've never heard of the manufacturers. However, it is being said that, for example, the Volkswagen Group is using, probably in China, this manufacturer to on new cars you get these tires. I was surprised in the underground parking how noisy the wheels were. When it comes to safety, I'm not sure that it was ever made any measurement of the safety of the car. Euro NCAP has not been done yet. It has 2 airbags only, I would say. I would think for the last 15 years the standard is that you get 4, 6, even 8 airbags in the car. However, when it comes to build of the quality and of the iron base of the car, etc., that seems to be well designed. The car has no intelligent assistance. It only has, I would say, like dummy cruise control. The cruise control, it tends to be quite nervous. It is actually very often it goes up with the power and down, up and down, and first I think it's very inefficient, that it must increase the consumption by 15-20%, and at the same time it's not comfortable to use it. So when it comes to certain aspect of the technology, it's not there yet, the car, on I would say just like its normal standard. The beauty of this car is that it has the roof racks, so you can carry another, you can carry load on your roof, and at the same time there will be possibility to put the towing for this car again. So it's very unique for electric car in this price range. Price and a service. So this car is being sold with VAT, which is 21% in the Czech Republic, for 31,000 euros. It is one of the cheapest electric cars out there you can buy, and I would think it's pretty decent value for money. It's a great first car you would get. I would think it's primarily for the city driving, but you can get outside of the city if you're within that 200 kilometers range. I'm actually now traveling 400 kilometers, so I will be charging twice. The warranty you get for the car is 2 years without any mileage limitations. The warranty you get for the battery itself is 4 years or 2,000 cycles. Assuming you can actually on average do 200 kilometers per cycle, we're talking about 400,000 kilometers you can do on the battery, and that's how the modern batteries work. So you do not need to worry at all about the battery wearing off as fast as your mobile phone battery. It doesn't work like that. It's in the battery management system is taking very good care of the battery, so it will really last probably longer than the car itself, and it will have the second life in energy storage systems. How often do you service such a car? You're supposed to come every half a year or 10,000 kilometers. I sort of think it's a nonsense for electric car. The standard is like, let's say 1 or 2 years, and let's say 30,000 kilometers, because they just check it visually, let's say, and they change the cabin air filter. That's all you can do pretty much in most of these maintenance visits, right? Conclusion: I think this JAC car coming to Europe is a very decent ticket into the electric vehicles world. What I appreciate about the car is its design, both outside and inside. It's in fact, besides Teslas, it is when I was charging, and I did over 1,700 kilometers, over 1,000 miles. Whenever I was charging, this car was actually receiving more attention. It's just empirical, observation, but this car was receiving more attention than other electric vehicles I was testing so far. Maybe Jaguar I-Pace would be getting attention. So it does have appealing design and practicality, both from the outside and inside. So I like the space the car provides. It feels much bigger than it actually is when you look at its measures. I had a moment in my life in between 2009 and 2012 where I lived in China. I was with a technology company there, and we had a Chinese car called BEV, which was bought the know-how from the British Rover. It was a decent car, and over 2.5 years period there was nothing wrong with the car, and the finish of the car, that there was no complaint whatsoever after 2.5 years with the car. So Chinese do know, just like they provide the world with electronics, etc., and these are quality products, they can build quality cars. And this seemed to be a very decent quality build, finish of the car. I like that they are using a modern thermal management of the battery. I think the price of 31,000 euro is among the best priced, with 21% VAT. It's among the best priced electric vehicles out there on the market. The cars, when it comes to the Czech importer, and there should be one also in Belgium, the cars are on stock. So if you want the car, you can have it within a week. You need to wait for long months with the other electric cars out there to enjoy it. And I also like that you can put roof rack, and you can in this price range of electric vehicle that you can have towing capacity. At the same time, there are several things which I would think could be better. So there is no heat pump in the car, so therefore it does not allow very efficient use of energy in winter when you need to heat up the cabin. The speed of the DC charging is I would say not on the level of modern electric vehicles. If only within it goes 36 kilowatt in first 40-45%, then it drops to 23 kilowatt, and then at 75% it drops way low to 4.2-4.5 kilowatt. It's not what you would expect from a DC charger of a modern car. The radio could be better. It's as if it was like 15 years old car, with the quality of the sound, including Bluetooth. It works. It's just you're not enjoying it. I would also think the warranty of the car is not on the standard where the electric vehicles and the warranty for the battery would be these days. The servicing of the car is limited to where the dealers are, so within the Czech Republic it's only Prague for the time being. Overall, it's a decent electric vehicle which would be great for commuting, even long distances. I actually made yesterday a trip, 400 kilometers trip, and on that trip on, let's say, country roads, so my speed was between 90 and 110 kilometers, and it was over, and there was also a moment where I went to our Czech mountains, so at one moment I was above, I would say 1200, maybe 1100 meters sea level, and so on a round trip it took of 200 kilometers, it took only 65% of the battery. So basically you can be, if you're gentle with the accelerator and on the country roads, you can be getting close to 300 kilometers per charge, let's say 270 kilometers, just to have some buffer there, which I would think is very very decent commuter car, decent range, which you can have in summer. In winter, I would think, because of the absence of the heat pump, I would think it will drop by 30-35% if it's below 0 degrees Celsius. If you enjoyed the video, thank you very much for watching a long video. I just shoot long videos, detailed videos on the electric vehicles. However, most of them I would shoot and continue shooting in the Czech language. So I would not invite you to subscribe to the channel therefore, but I will be grateful if you just put thumb up and comment on the content if you have any questions and opinion on this Chinese-made electric vehicles coming to Europe.